Hello everyone, today we are going to be talking a little bit about what makes Random Dice a good game, a fun game, and generally an appealing game to a lot of people. But first, I just wanted to mention real quick, as of recording this video December the 30th, I have not uploaded a video in over 3 weeks, and this is basically the first video that I'm hopefully going to be uploading right now shortly. Basically, where I'm going with this, there's been a few reasons as to why I haven't been uploading. One of the reasons is mainly that I've been on Christmas break, so I've basically just decided to take some time off and do other things. But I have also been sick for around a month now, and it doesn't really seem to get that much better than it already is, so I figured I would just record right now. And the reason as to why I haven't uploaded part 2 of the tier list video is that it's been so damn boring to edit, and I'm not even exaggerating. I honestly think the video is turning out quite well, and I also have tags in the video, which I honestly think really makes the video better. It is always refreshing to hear someone else's voice and not only edit and listen to my own voice all the time. But the video has just in general been quite slow for me, and whenever I decided to edit, I basically just started, edited a little bit, and then said f it, and just went off. And right now, I quite frankly said f this, that, and let's do this shit now. I don't even know. So I'm recording this video now, but as I've already promised, I am going to be uploading the part 2 as well, but it will be delayed even a little bit longer. But I've been rambling on for too long now, so let's get into today's topic of the video, so I have something else to edit before finishing that video. Alright, so unlike most videos where I talk about a specific subject or give tips and tricks or similar things to that, today's video is not going to be divided in different parts, and it's basically just going to be one long rant about the things that I think makes Random Dice a pretty solid game, especially as a phone game. So first off, if you play Random Dice, you may or may not be a phone game player in general. Nevertheless, even if you are or aren't, I think most people have heard of a game called Clash Royale. And as I think most Random Dice players know already, the game is quite similar to that game specifically. Clash Royale is obviously made by a completely different game company that goes by the name of Supercell. Random Dice is made by 111%, which is a Korean game company. But so to the people that don't already know this, it probably isn't gonna come as a shock, but the game is obviously heavily inspired by Clash Royale, which was released many years before Random Dice was a thing whatsoever. So the idea of Random Dice is obviously very similar to the game Clash Royale, which I think was a game that had a really good game design already from the beginning. The thing about Random Dice is that they still managed to make the game unique in the sense that there are dices instead of characters that you play with. The PvP and co-op system also does work a slight bit different, although it used to be more unique back in the day before they changed up the PvP system to a monthly reset. When you go past Grand 1, of course. But the thing about these mobile games that specifically Random Dice has is the competitiveness. Random Dice can be all about being competitive if that is what you're looking for. A lot of people really want to try their very best to become good at the game, and in order to do that, you need people to fight against. Random Dice PvP gives you a really good chance at doing specifically this, basically fighting against others. Even though Random Dice has quite a bit of luck and RNG involved into all of it, that might actually be one of the factors that made Random Dice so successful in the first place. The game's name is quite literally Random Dice, and quite literally everything in the game is random, so it makes complete sense. I'm not an expert in Clash Royale, and I've only played it a little bit, but as far as I know, there is nowhere near the amount of randomness in Clash Royale as there is in Random Dice. Obviously, your opponents are going to be random in Clash Royale, but in Random Dice, literally everything is going to be random, except for specifically the dices that you're choosing when going into the game. Randomness and competitiveness can be a really good combo, both in the sense that it makes everything a lot more exciting, a lot more unique, but it can also be nerve-wracking and sometimes extremely frustrating if the game just decides that you're not gonna have anything that you want in the game. Something that Random Dice also has that I'm not really sure if Clash Royale has nowadays is a active and passive mode, so the game pretty much works for everybody who likes either of those. Obviously, I'm talking about co-op and PvP. In PvP, there is a lot of activeness involved. You constantly need to keep an eye on your board and the bosses that are upcoming, while in co-op, that only really matters early game if you're setting up a long run. Of course, you can play actively and passively in co-op as well, and there are obviously decks in PvP that are more or less passive, even though you still should keep an eye on the game. So basically, even if you're someone that is really busy and you're doing a lot of things all at once, co-op might still be a thing for you and you're still able to grind in random dice. While if you want something more active and you really just like the game itself, you can of course play PvP as well for a more active experience and an all-around more engaging way of playing the game. Something that I just briefly touched on was the fact that the game has a really good game design. Just like Clash Royale, Random Dice has a great game design. It really keeps players hooked all the time, and it just makes you want to learn more and more about the game itself. You always want to explore and experiment with the different dices. Whenever a new dice is released, you immediately want to learn it, you want to understand how it works, you want to see what it works with, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad, you never really know, but there is constantly something to experiment with. There are always new things to find out, whether they're good or bad. You can always find different combos of decks and different dices to vary. The game also has a lot of really satisfying factors, such as upgrading dices or stacking up a bunch of co-op cards and opening them all at once. Personally, I think with higher dice classes, the game generally gets more satisfying overall, and that is something that a lot of people always want to strive for. The AI mode in co-op can also be extremely satisfying in my personal opinion. It really doesn't take that long to set up, but it gives you a lot of rewards, and sometimes you can get really lucky with them as well. If you set up milestones in random dice, such as picking a specific dice that you want to get to a certain class, that is also something that can feel very rewarding once you finally reach it a while later. Classing up legendary dices is not a fast process, and it takes really long. Even if you decide to put in a lot of effort, it is most likely going to take a while either way. But so when you finally get to reach your milestone, such as getting Lunar 12 as I did a while ago, or upgrading your Holy Sword, or if you like any other dice in specific, it really feels great once you finally get there. The last thing that I find really cool about random dice in general is that the community is very nice, helping, and generally just a fun place to be in. Generally, both the Reddit and all different forums where you can talk about random dice, you just find a lot of people that want to help you and people that treat each other with respect. There are a lot of games out there that are really good, but that lacks a lot in having a good community in the sense of helpfulness and just generally being nice to each other. Random Dice is an Asian game, but there are a lot of players from the West, such as from Europe and America. On both sides, I've generally just met a lot of really nice people. There are quite few players that I met that have been rude and just generally been toxic, which once again, a lot of other games has that problem, but in general, I don't really see that being a thing in Random Dice. So the game is really friendly to new players as well as old players, of course, and I think that is a really good thing about Random Dice that makes the game valuable. But anyways, those are some of the things that I think makes Random Dice a really good game. There are of course other things as well that are really good about the game, but I think these are some of the main things that I personally find awesome about it. Feel free to let me know in the comments down below what you think is good about Random Dice and what your experience is like with the game just in general. But that is it for today's video. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video. Take care, stay safe, and later.